searching for answers after investigators say a father opened fire, killing his 5 children, his wife, mother-in-law, before then turning the gun on himself.
It's an act of violence.
Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another video. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right, so what we have is another issue of the growing and ongoing problem of familicide that does not get picked up by the mainstream media, because if the mainstream media were to pick up a problem like this, it would make the nation's favorite people look horrible, like the heroin issue does or the opiate issue does. All right, if you even check out the FBI statistics on familicide, interestingly enough, the cowardly FBI only seems to take statistics about the victims of these kind of crimes, not the people who perpetuate these kind of crimes. But as you guys can see in each and every video that I make that's titled Familicide, we see who the majority of the perpetrators of these kind of crimes are. Now again, we have to ask ourselves, if these kind of crimes are taking place, why is there no race on race category for this particular kind of crime? The same way that anytime there's any issue that goes on with us, they call it black on black crime. That's the question that we need to ask as we investigate and see more and more of these kind of stories out, where there's an entire family being deleted. Now, I don't know if you guys saw Professor Black Truth's most recent Moment of Truth video, but it was a crime report on Friday where he talked about this, and that is what is needed in order to get these kind of things into the mainstream, or at least to get people talking about them, because this is not a kind of story that the mainstream media wants to talk about. Because once you dive into this, once you dive into the statistics, the cultural element of familicide is obvious, and we can't do that. Anytime we find an obvious cultural element with America's favorite people, what we have to do is find one isolated particular cases of similar things going on in other communities and use those people as the face of crime in order to uphold the fake moral superiority position that you see the mainstream media work as the propaganda arm to maintain. So what we have is an article here from KSL5, and it says what we know about the family killed in Enoch murder-suicide. All right, we're gonna watch this short video here, and then we're gonna dive into this.
Tonight, a community in a daze, searching for answers after investigators say a father opened fire, killing his 5 children, his wife, mother-in-law, before then turning the gun on himself.
It's an act of violence that has shaken this very close-knit community in Enoch to its core, and many now are trying to figure out what comes next.
It's not too often something like this hits very close to home.
It's actually very often that something like that hits very close to home in all 50 states of the United States. But again, this is the repeating of things that aren't true that we have to do in order to attempt to brainwash people to uphold a false appearance.
Investigation continues tonight. We are slowly learning more about the family killed as we hear from members of the community who are around them almost every single day.
We have team coverage tonight on the impacts of this violence. How will parents talk to their kids about what happened to their classmates, and what can be done to help the first responders who had to see the scene firsthand?
Yep. Notice how when it comes to these kind of problems in this particular community, it's always, how will we do something? How will we deal with Dana White? How will we talk about this? It's never, this is what we're going to do to fix the problem. And the reason why is because when you control the media, what you can do to fix the problem is attempt to project this onto other people and act as if it's the other people that are constantly doing this kind of thing.
We're going to start things off with a breakdown of what we know right now as we hear from city leaders for the very first time. News specialist Lauren Steinbrecher live now in Edic with the latest. Lauren?
Yeah, Mike and Debbie. So investigators still have this area around the home roped off. You can see that memorial is growing kind of in front of that crime scene tape as this community tries to grapple with what happened. A community in complete sadness.
The Haight's were my neighbors.
And disbelief.
The youngest children played in my yard with my sons.
Even the mayor of Enoch is grasping to comprehend how an entire family in their close-knit community, active in church, known to everyone around them, is gone.
When you have a societal overlay that blankets the true traits of people, and you just look at people based on nonsensical and non-fact-based stereotypical lies perpetuated by the media as well as perpetuated by the rest of the population, it's very easy to let a bad apple slip through the cracks. And that is how this crime struck your community.
A tremendous blow to many, many families.
Enoch City believes the husband and father, Michael Haight, shot and killed his wife, Tasha, mother-in-law, Gail Earl, and his 5 kids, a 17-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl, 7-year-old twins, boy and girl, and 4-year-old boy, before he died by suicide. People had seen the family just the night before on Tuesday.
The daughter and the mother were at a church activity the night before.
But on Wednesday,
someone with whom Tasha had an appointment yesterday morning called and reported that she had missed the appointment and requested a law enforcement conduct a welfare check.
A few hours later, the city says Cedar City police received a missing persons report about Michael from his office in Cedar City. They would then find out Tasha filed for divorce 2 weeks ago. An urgent check on their house led to the grisly discovery. Police say they already know this family and have responded to this home.
Yeah, we had been involved in some investigations with the family a couple years prior.
Right now, they can't.
They'd been involved with some investigations with this family a couple years prior. Again, when you have a societal overlay that allows people's degeneracies to be blanketed in a false morality, what you end up doing is you end up allowing wolves to appear to have sheep's clothing. And when those wolves bite you, you act as if you're surprised, but you're part of the reason why those wolves bit you.
Say what that investigation was for, as this investigation continues in a community reeling and in shock.
We do know that they were our friends, they were our neighbors, and that we loved them.
Yeah, and Tasha's mom, Gail, we're told had been staying at the house to kind of help out while this divorce process was starting. Another thing that I learned tonight, Michael was employed with Allstate Insurance. He was an insurance agent in Cedar City. Allstate confirmed with me this evening that he was no longer employed there when this was happening. So I'm really not sure how recent that was.
So there's that. The guy also decided to give up on his career, just like how he gave up on his family and gave up on his life. A small southern Utah town searches for answers after an entire family was found dead in their home. Investigators are giving more context as to what may have been unfolding inside the home, leading up to the act of violence that has shaken the entire community. So what that basically means is that we're going to try to find a reason to justify what he did, to try to soften the impact of how this looks in the public eye. A memorial began to grow in front of crime scene tape that surrounded the Haight family home in Enoch Thursday afternoon, as the parents and children brought flowers and stuffed animals in honor of Tasha Haight, the mother, her mother Gail Earl, and Tasha's 5 children, identified by family and friends as Macy, Briley, twins Ammon and Sienna, and Gavin. Those who walked up appeared sad and in disbelief, some taking a moment to take in the scene. So now I find this interesting that it says Tasha's 5 children. So I don't know if these 5 children are by Michael or not. And that's something that needs to be taken in consideration when we dive into this as well. Those who walked up appeared sad and in disbelief, some taking a moment to take in the scene. It's not too often something like this hits very close to home, said Enoch City Mayor Jeffrey Chestnut during an emotional press conference on Thursday. He began to get choked up as he spoke, and with watery eyes. In fact, the Haight's were my neighbors. The youngest children played in my yard with my son. He paused and looked down, taking a breath. Enoch City is a very close community, he continued. Enoch City was a very close community, but that community wasn't close enough to see the warning signs of this homicidal maniac. Just a day prior, police visited the home as a part of a welfare check for Tasha and Michael Haight after receiving separate reports that each person was missing. Someone with whom Tasha had an appointment with yesterday morning called and reported that she had missed the appointment and requested law enforcement to conduct a welfare check. So now you have to ask yourself a question. In most cases, when people miss appointments, do people usually call for welfare checks? So my thing is, again, there had already been warning signs based on what we heard in the video. So my thing is, what did this person who called the welfare check know about what was going on inside of their private life? Said Rob Dotson, city manager of Enoch City. A few hours after that welfare check call came in, Tasha was not located. A missing persons report was requested and received by Cedar City Police Department due to Michael's office location in Cedar City. Dotson said once police figured out Michael lived in Enoch, they passed the missing persons report to Enoch City. Dispatch also received information that Tasha filed for divorce 2 weeks ago. So now here's the question. Is that the motive? Is that the motive? Now, what you guys need to understand is that this quote unquote males movement that we have, the males movement is created in order to create excuses for a particular group of males. The male movement as we know it is not for every single male. So that's why you see the very male movement that I'm talking about that will take up for Dana White and say that, you know, he was in the right and he did nothing wrong ever, and that we need to protect men like Dana White because he didn't do anything wrong. Will also blame the woman in this situation here, who this woman is probably an anti-black racist because she was a Mormon, and we all know that Mormon by culture, Mormonism has anti-black parts and pieces to what makes up its teachings. She probably will be blamed as part of this, saying that she caused him to go into depression, and, you know, he was a good man, he was a good provider, and she was just a demanding woman, and she had all of these kids, and he just pushed her to the brink, and we need to be as lenient on this man as we can. That will be the societal narrative. That will not be the societal narrative that you would hear if it was somebody like me who was in this situation. The welfare check to locate Tasha became an effort to find the entire family, he said. Officers would walk into the home and discover Tasha, her mother, all 5 children, and Michael dead from gunshot wounds. They believe Michael shot and killed everyone before dying by suicide. Mayor Chestnut said Gail had been staying with the family to help her daughter out and provide support during the difficult times they were encountering. He said Tasha filed for divorce December 21st. Allstate Insurance, where Michael was an agent, confirmed to KSL TV that he was no longer employed with them when the shootings took place. It's unclear how long ago he left Allstate and the circumstances surrounding his departure from his job. By all outside appearances, to most neighbors and friends who have spoken to KSL TV, the Haight family was happy and very active in their local Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints ward. So now what I think should happen is that I think that the clergy people at the Church of Latter-day Saints should be investigated, and they should also have to turn over any information that that family gave. Because as we all know, and if you guys aren't subscribed to my Crimecast channel, make sure you guys go over there and check out the Crimecast channel. The Mormon Church has a history of hiding atrocities done to families by the father because it's part of their non-disclosure act for confessions and such. There's been sexual abuse. There's been domestic violence. There's a long history of things that are hidden when it comes to the Mormon Church. And the Mormon Church never turns over that information. They protect the white male at all costs. Neighbors talked about the family hosting a walkabout last summer to get the neighborhood together. They spoke about how welcoming the Haight's were and becoming the first to introduce themselves when new people moved in on their street. The night before police believe Michael killed his family, Mayor Chestnut spoke about how family members had been in touch with them. The daughter and mother were at a church activity the night before, he said. However, Enoch City Police Chief Jackson Ames said law enforcement was familiar with the family because of responding to their home in the past. And now what I find fascinating is that when it comes to this particular issue, the media is very hush-hush, and we're going to sweep under the rug what all of the old domestic violence charges were. Now, when Tank Davis was falsely accused by his baby mom, the one thing that the media continued to do is talk about how he had past issues. But when it comes to this, you're not hearing any of the public access reports about what went on with this family in the past. We had been involved in some investigations with the family a couple years prior, Chief Ames said during a Thursday press conference. He wouldn't elaborate on what the investigation was about or its outcome. Even beyond that, Dotson spoke about how the officers who responded and discovered the bodies personally knew the family, just as others, including Mayor Chestnut, did. So how do we not know that law enforcement, as well as the mayor, didn't help the husband facilitate this crime and cover it up? Because when it comes to these quote-unquote close-knit communities in these quote-unquote good Bible-bumping blue belt American areas, what you always find out is that it's just like that TV show Cheers. Everybody knows your name. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, this is emotion that you see. So really, what we're inviting the public to do is, if you are a praying person, to pray for law enforcement. It impacts them. Pray for the family, Dotson said. Well, if you're law enforcement, what we'd like you to do is show the past investigations and actually do your job. If you're the media, what we'd like you to do is not pray, actually investigate this and do journalism work when it comes to this. He and Mayor Chestnut explained that a mobile crisis team responded to provide mental health services to law enforcement, as well as anyone in the community who needs it. This is a tremendous blow to many families who have spent many nights with these individuals who are now gone, Mayor Chestnut said. And I'll tell you what it actually should be is a warning sign. And people should probably take heed to this, because what those many families that look like this family should understand is that at any moment, it could be them. Dotson talked about how hard it is to understand why this happened. Well, it's not really hard to understand why this happened. What it is denial. And that there's lots they may never know it. And the reason why is because the police won't show what the past investigations were all about. And again, this is when this system starts to cannibalize itself. But we do know they were our friends. They were our neighbors, Dotson said, and that we love them. And I tend to disagree, because if you actually love people and you live in a tight-knit community, what you do is you look out for their best interest to try to prevent familicide from happening. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think about this story. If you guys heard about it, make sure you guys smash the like button, watch the video all the way through to the end, hit the links at the end of the video. You guys know that we have a goal of 10,000 subs by the end of the year, so help us do that by sharing this video to all of your social media, and I will catch you all on the next video. All right, peace.